So can you hear me well?
And you can speak to me. So
Good, very good. Wonderful. Okay. So I was trying to figure out what you were getting me into here and how we're implicated in this walk. I was going to interview you and ask you what you thought you were doing.
I'm specifically thinking about the challenge of making a film about philosophy, which obviously has a spoken element, but is typically written. And the book form allows you to explore something so in depth, 300, 400, 500 pages, exploring a single concept. Whereas in a feature-length film, you have 80 minutes in the form of speech that's been recorded, and in the case of this film, each person has 10 minutes.
Yes, that is scandalous. I can understand that the others would have 10 minutes, but to bring me down to 10 minutes is an outrage. There's no doubt about it. The thing is, we don't know where this film is going to land, whom it's going to shake up, wake up, or freak out, or bore. But even boredom as an offshoot of melancholy would interest me as a response to these dazzling utterances that we're producing. But I would say that even if philosophy, and don't forget that Heidegger ditched philosophy for thinking, because he thought philosophy as such was still too institutional, academic, too bound up in knowledge and results, too cognitively inflected. So he asked the question, what is called thinking? And he had a lot to say about walks, about going on paths that lead nowhere. One of his important texts is called Holzwege, which means a path that leads nowhere. In Greek, the word for path is methodos. So we're on the path.
One thing I want to ask you about is meaning. Is philosophy a search for meaning?
I'm very suspicious historically and intellectually of the promise of meaning, because meaning has often had very fascistoid, non-progressivist edges, if not a core of that sort of thing. Excuse me. So that very often also the emergency supplies of meaning that are brought to a given incident or structure or theme in one's life are cover-ups, are a way of dressing the wound of non-meaning. I think it's very hard to keep things in the tensional structure of the openness, whether it's ecstatic or not, of non-meaning. That's very, very difficult, which is why there's then the quick grasp for transcendental signifier, for God, for nation, for patriotism. It's been very devastating, this craving for meaning, though it's something with which we are in constant negotiation. Everyone wants something like meaning. But when you see these dogs play, why reduce it to meaning rather than just see the arbitrary eruption of something that can't be grasped or explicated, but it's just there in this kind of absolute contingency of being. To leave things open and radically inappropriable and admitting we haven't really understood is much less satisfying, more frustrating, and more necessary, I think, and that's why I think a lot of people have been fed and fueled by promises of immediate gratification in thought and food and junk and so on, junk thought, junk food, and so on. So there's a politics of refusing that gratification. And I know that's crazy making, but I think that's where we have to pull the brakes.
some people might be troubled or might wonder, how do you behave ethically if there's no ultimate meaning?
Precisely where there isn't guaranteed or palpable meaning, you have to do a lot of work and you have to be mega ethical. Because it's much easier to live life and know that, well, that you shouldn't do and this you should do because someone said so. If we're not anxious, if we're okay with things, we're not trying to explore or figure anything out. So anxiety is the mood par excellence of ethicity, I think. You know, now I'm not prescribing anxiety disorder for anyone. However, could you imagine Mr. Bush, who doesn't give a shit when he sends everyone to the gas chamber or the electric chair? He expresses no anxiety, and they're very proud of this. They don't lose a wink of sleep. They express no anxiety. This is something that Derrida has taught. If you feel that you've acquitted yourself honorably, then you're not so ethical. If you have a good conscience, then you're kind of worthless. Like if you think, oh, I gave this homeless person $5, I'm great, then you're irresponsible. The responsible being is one who thinks they've never been responsible enough. They've never taken care enough of the other. The other is so in excess of anything you can understand or grasp or reduce. This in itself creates an ethical relatedness, a relation without relation, because you don't know, you can't presume to know or grasp the other. The minute you think you know the other, you're ready to kill them. You think, oh, they're doing this or this, they're the axis of evil, let's drop some bombs. But if you don't know, you don't understand this alterity, it's so other that you can't violate it with your sense of understanding, then you have to let it live in a sense.